Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a coming-of-age comedy drama film called Three Idiots. Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. 30-year-old Farhan is on board a flight that is minutes away from taking off. He gets a call from someone, and the news they relay shocks him to the core. Right when the airplane takes off, he gets up from his seat, trying to get to the stewardess. But before he can, sharp pain in his chest makes him fall unconscious. The pilots land the plane back on the runway, and Farhan is rushed outside in a wheelchair. All of a sudden, he opens his eyes, proving that he was faking the heart attack. He does a few jumping jacks and tells his caretaker he seems to be fine before running away. Then, he rushes to his friend Raju's home. He also calls Raju and tells him that their third friend, Rancho, is back in town. The news shocks Raju as much as it did to Farhan. He quickly wears a shirt and runs outside with his shoes still in his hands. When the friends meet, Farhan reminds him that he forgot to wear his pants. Still, both friends did not seem to care, because the missing pants are nothing compared to reuniting with their long-lost friend Rancho. They go to their former engineering college and meet Chatur, their college rival and an egocentric, gullible man. It turns out that Chatur had made a bet with Farhan and his group when they were in college. They had decided to meet 10 years later on the 5th of September to see who is the most successful out of them all. While everyone else forgot about the stupid bet, Chatur remembered it and brought them all to the same place again. He also reveals that he is the vice president of Rockledge Corporation and a millionaire. The other two do not care about his success and only want to meet Rancho. It is revealed that Rancho left randomly after college and has never contacted them since. They had given up on looking for him after several tries. As they're about to beat Chatur up for wasting their time, he claims that Rancho is in Simla. He wants to take them on a trip to Simla to get them together and show them how far he has come in life. Farhan and Raju are ready to come with him and do not care even if he is trying to prove they're inferior to him. A flashback shows us the time when Farhan entered college for his freshman year. He and Raju were given a single room to share alongside Rancho. Farhan and Raju had problems of their own. Farhan didn't want to become an engineer and was only doing it for his father, while Raju was too scared of the future to concentrate on the present. But Rancho was different. The first time they met him was while being bullied by the seniors on their first night of college. It was a tradition for the senior guys to get the freshman boys naked and make them bow. It was considered a way for the freshmen to show respect to their elders. It was probably also a way for their elders to exhibit their closeted homosexuality without consequence. When everyone else quietly followed the tradition, Rancho did not. He locked himself inside his dorm room and refused to come out, even when the leader of the bullies threatened him. To teach him a lesson, the bully is about to pee in front of his door, but Rancho is smarter than the others. He joins an electric wire to a spoon and slowly puts it under the door. When the bully pees on it, he gets electrocuted. Everyone laughs and admires him for his brilliant idea. Farhan and Raju are impressed and confused by Rancho's interesting personality. Following that, we are introduced to the college's strict dean, Viru, known as Virus among the students. He is a typical orthodox man who thinks life is a race, and the students should do exactly what they are told in order to be successful. One thing Virus hates the most is wasting time. For the same reason, he has Velcro stuck to all his shirts instead of buttons, and hooks to his ties. Every year, Virus gathers the first-year students and gives them a speech about a special pen that he got from his teacher. The pen, as he says, is an astronaut's pen that the scientists have invented after years of research to be able to write in space. He has been waiting to give the pen to an extraordinary student like himself, but in his 20 years of career, hasn't found a student good enough for it. In other words, Virus thinks very highly of himself. Virus has given the same speech to every batch of students the college has ever had, and never in his life has anyone asked him a question. But this time, Rancho inquires why the astronauts didn't use a pencil instead of a pen. Virus is left shocked. All he can say is he will get back to the question. After the speech, the school's janitor and child worker, named Millimeter, praises Rancho for this question. Rancho gives him some money to buy a school uniform, advising him to enter any class of any school without being noticed. His interesting personality is amusing to Farhan, but Raju thinks he will cause them trouble. Rancho isn't like most of the students, who work as the professor's puppets. He asks his own questions, makes his own answers, and genuinely loves engineering. But the teachers always mistake his attentiveness for mischief and send him out of the class. But Rancho sits in another random class when thrown out of one. He is in college, not for a diploma, but to study. And that is an incredible life lesson that we should all be so lucky to learn. There is only one other like him in the college, Roy, from the 4th year. He has been working on a project that is genius, but Virus refuses to look at it because Roy is behind the submission date. He even calls Roy's father and bluntly tells him his son won't graduate. The news is too much for the hopeful father to handle, but Virus doesn't care. He is absolute about not giving Roy a second chance. Roy throws his project, and Rancho finds it later. He sees that the machine is innovative and only needs a little polishing. For the next week, he works on the project and completes it. When it's done, they fly the drone to Roy's room, only to see his corpse. They run to his room and witness that he has committed the unthinkable. During his funeral, Rancho tells Virus that Roy was murdered by the college's system of pressuring students. Virus takes the comment personally and writes a letter to Farhan and Raju's parents, telling them that Rancho is a bad influence on their sons. Virus should be in jail. The very next day, Farhan's father calls them home and asks Rancho to stay away from his son. Rancho ignores his words, distracted by the wildlife pictures on the wall. It turns out that Farhan wants to be a wildlife photographer, but has taken engineering because of his father. Rancho tries to convince his father otherwise, but it is not enough to eradicate his deep-rooted and shallow principle. After that, they go to Raju's home and finds out that his family lives below poverty. His father is bedridden and retired, while his sister is getting older, but no one wants to marry her. The family's responsibility falls upon Raju, which is why he is always so scared of the future. Later, the friends pretend to be guests at a wedding to enjoy the food. Rancho notices a girl named Pia and her fiancé talking about her watch. By the conversation, it is clear that the guy, Suhas, is a materialistic man who is only marrying her for her status. Rancho tells Pia what he thinks about Suhas and drops a dressing into his shoes to prove to her how materialistic he is. As expected, Suhas cries out the price of his shoes and yells at the waiter for ruining them. Intrigued by Rancho's personality, Pia does some digging and finds out that he is her father, Virus's student. To the guy's misfortune, the wedding they broke into is Virus's elder daughter's. Pia tells her father about the three and gets them in trouble. The night before exams, Chatur slips adult magazines into everyone's dorm room in an attempt to distract them. When Rancho gets a hint of this, he is determined to teach him a lesson. One day, Chatur is invited to give a Hindi speech for an important charity event, but since he is awful at Hindi, he learns the speech, not understanding a single word of it. What he doesn't know is that Rancho has changed some important words in the text, with words like breast and assault. On the day of the event, Chatur unknowingly insults the VIPs with his absurd speech. After getting in trouble for it, Chatur is enraged. He challenges the guys to bet on who will be the most successful in 10 years, and writes the date September 5th on the wall. One day, Rancho bumps into Pia and Suhas outside a jewelry store. Suhas has just bought her an expensive watch. Rancho does an experiment and makes her pretend she lost the watch. Suhas loses his temper and calls her an idiot, once again showing his materialistic side. Pia breaks up with him after handing him the watch back. Right after, Rancho gets a call informing him that Raju's father is having a seizure. He and Pia drive to Raju's house and get his father to the hospital just in time to save his life. Raju is beyond thankful and sorry to his friend. Pia sees how much Rancho cares about his friends and starts to fall for him. Finally, the results of the first semester exams are published. Farhan and Raju rank in the lowest position, but they are happy that at least they didn't fail. Then, to their utmost surprise, Rancho ranks in the first position. Chatur, who comes second, and Virus, who hates Rancho's guts, are the saddest people in the crowd. Virus takes a picture together with the passing class, with the first and second ranking students by his side. Back in the present, Raju and Farhan reach Simla, along with Chatur, to meet Rancho. They arrive at his house, according to Chatur's location, and find that Rancho's father passed away that morning. When everyone is mourning, they approach a man. However, to their confusion, the man who claims to be Rancho is someone else. Even the picture they took together in college is different. The guys return to a nearby restaurant to think of their next step. As they talk, Chatur mentions a great scientist and inventor named Wang Du, who is going to sign $1 million deal with his company next week. The other two cannot care less about the so-called great scientist and want to know why Rancho's identity was stolen. They return to the house and ask the fake Rancho about the real one. The man brings out a gun to intimidate them. It works on Chatur, who runs away like a coward. But Farhan and Raju are adamant. They in turn threaten to throw his father's ashes into the toilet if he doesn't tell them the truth. The man finally reveals that he is the real Rancho, and the guy who went to college with them is his gardener's son, who they call Chot. In childhood, he used to do Rancho's homework and study for him. When Rancho's father found out, he allowed Chot to keep going because he needed education, and Rancho needed a degree. That way, Chot had to return after graduating because he had promised he wouldn't keep in contact. After Raju and Farhan find out about his new address, they leave to look for him again. When the guys were in the final year of college, they were nervous about the job recruit taking place in 2 months. While giving a speech about recruitment, Virus insults Farhan and Raju, declaring that they will never land the jobs. He calls them losers and makes fun of them in front of everyone. That night, the three get drunk in anger. While drunk, Rancho reveals that Farhan has a letter in his bag addressed to his favorite photographer, who he wants to work with. He also calls Raju a coward for constantly worrying about the future. Raju and Farhan, in turn, promise to do as Rancho says if he confesses his feelings to Pia. They go to Virus's house and break into Pia's room. Rancho finds her sleeping and confesses his feelings, only to find out that he had been talking to her pregnant sister, Mona. The girls are both impressed by his proposal. Soon, Virus wakes up and finds urine on his front door. He also notices Raju's face in the dark. The guys are so drunk that they fall asleep in class and wake up a few hours later when everyone is studying. Virus storms into the classroom and finds Raju, still drunk from last night. Later, Raju is called to his office and told that he will be expelled once and for all. He begs the dean to give him a second chance, but the man just ignores him. With no hope left of a good life, Raju committed the unthinkable. In the following scene, we see Rancho and Farhan rushing him to the hospital. Thankfully, he survives but goes into a state of paralysis. Pia, who is also a doctor, informs them that Raju can see and hear them, so they should act happy and motivate him to get better quicker. Starting that day, Rancho and Farhan do everything in their power to bring Raju back. They throw parties for him, tell him fake news that might make him happy, and buy his mother clothes that she always wanted. His expulsion is also terminated, but even that good news doesn't bring him back. Then, one day, Rancho lies to him that Farhan is going to marry his sister, who is desperate for a husband. The news makes Raju come out of paralysis. With his first words, he calls them rascals and asks them to stop lying. Following that, he gets better in no time. On the day of the recruit, Farhan gets a letter back from his favorite photographer, who invites him to be his assistant. Now all he has to do is ask his father for permission. Similarly, Raju also gives up on all his fortune rings and goes to the interview fearlessly. He tells the interviewers everything about his bad grades and the reason he was about to be expelled. His attitude is unlike anything that the interviewers have ever seen, so they offer him a job. Meanwhile, after an emotional conversation, Farhan also convinces his father to let him take up photography. After the commotion, Farhan and Raju take off their pants in front of Rancho to pay their respect, as per the college's ritual. However, Virus, who is sure that Raju will fail, is not happy to be proven wrong. While drunk, he tells his daughters that he will set the exam questions and make it the most difficult ever. Pia is worried for the guys, so she brings the second key to Virus's office to them, urging them to steal the papers. Then, back in the present, the guys call Pia to tell her that they found Rancho. However, they discover that she is getting married in a few hours. They divert from the original route to pick her up as well. Initially, Pia refuses to come with them, even though she is still in love with Rancho. She sits beside her future husband, only to find out that the man behind the headwear is Raju. He has taken the groom's place in a desperate attempt to convince her. Eventually, they run away while the guests watch them in shock. The night before the final exams, Farhan and Rancho had a way to steal the question papers. They do not want to do it for themselves, but they are scared Raju will do something stupid if he doesn't pass. Hence, they steal the paper. When Raju gets a hold of it, he refuses to use it. Virus gets a hint of this and barges into their room to find the question paper on the floor. He immediately expels them all. The guys have no choice but to pack their luggage and leave. When Virus returns home, Pia reveals that his eldest son, who had died in an accident, had actually inflicted his own demise. He did so because Virus pressured him into becoming an engineer. After relaying the news, Pia storms away. A while later, Maya goes into labor, but the city is flooded, so Virus cannot take her to the hospital. Rancho sees this on his way out and gets ready to help her. Pia instructs him through the phone to lay Maya down on the table tennis board. They urge Maya to push harder, but she is weak and can hardly breathe. Now, the only way to bring the baby out is by using a device called the vacuum cup. Pia shows them a demonstration of the device through the computer, which gives Rancho an idea. He thinks that he can make the device with the things that are available around the college. After a lot of work, he finally creates a makeshift vacuum cup and uses it on her. Mona finally gives birth to a beautiful baby boy who cries after a minute of his birth. Rancho is about to leave, but Virus stops him and gives him the astronaut's pen that he was supposed to give to an extraordinary student. He also answers the first question that Rancho had asked him, claiming that a pencil won't be useful in space because its nip could be dangerous if it floats around. What a cop-out of an answer. By the end of the night, he forgives the students and lets them take the final exams. In the following scene, we see the guys graduating. Rancho is yet again the first in the class. As the ceremony continues, he drives away in a taxi. That was the last time Farhan and Raju ever saw him. They tried to contact him several times over the years, but could not find him. Until now, when they have his exact address. When they arrive at the place, they find out it is a school that Rancho teaches at. While looking for him, they run into the janitor, Millimeter, who has now grown up. They are told that Rancho brought him to his school so he could get the proper education. In the following scene, Pia drives to Rancho, who is teaching some students by a lake. She walks up to him and slaps him in the face before kissing him. Soon, Farhan and Raju join and beat him up for abandoning them, but they understand that he had to keep his promise to the real Rancho. As the group reunites, Chatur also joins them and makes fun of Rancho for being a school teacher. He compares his $1 million salary to Rancho's 5,000 rupees. On seeing that Rancho has Virus's pen, he takes that away as well. The rest of the group asks Rancho for his real name. To everyone's surprise, he turns out to be the great inventor, Mr. Wang Du, who Chatur is hoping to sign a deal with. Wang Du calls him from his number and relays the message to him. In the last scene, Chatur apologizes to him and opens his pants to show respect as per the college's tradition. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.